terms of changing, and please pardon the expression, of changing someone from being ugly to beautiful is 1 centimeter. And they said that if you, and I major in communication, so if it's not centimeter, then don't stone me. I major in communications, not math. All right. So what he said was the distance between the bottom of your nose and your top lip. That's the difference. That's how much difference it takes to take someone from being Shanae ugly to Beyonce beautiful. So if that 1 centimeter, that one small degree of change, the difference between warm water, hot water, and boiling water is 1 degree. So if we realign our priorities and we say, you know what, no longer am I going to chase after paper. No longer am I going to chase after power. No longer am I going to chase after people. I'm going to pursue passion. I believe that if we switch positions with money and we start chasing after passion, by default, who is money chasing? You. I could be wrong, but back in 1827, when those individuals came together to charter Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, I don't know if they were in this back room saying, you know what, we're going to make so much money off of this, man, I tell you what, we're going to make it rain. I very seriously doubt that was their focus, and I say that because I look at their vision statement. To be the safest, most progressive North American railroad, relentlessly pursuing customer and employee excellence. They weren't thinking about money. This guy who came up with this idea years ago and committed himself to that idea for the rest of his life. If you look at technology today, it's because of his ingenuity and his passion that Apple is in the position doing what it's doing nowadays. If you look at what this guy named George Lucas did with this concept that as kids, many of us, we have these outlandish imaginations. We'll turn anything into a spaceship. Well, George Lucas took that and created this Star Wars franchise, which today is still making money. But I don't believe he got into that industry because he thought it would be lucrative. I believe he got into that industry because it would be satisfying to him. What am I saying? You're wasting your time. If you've invested 4 years in college, you've invested the past 8 weeks in this training program, if once the doors close, graduation is over, the party is over, the lights are off, and you don't do anything with everything that you've learned and invested into your passion, you're shortchanging yourself. Why fall to becoming another statistic to a society of people who are stressed, depressed, confused, because they're going to jobs day in and day out that they didn't have enough courage to say, you know what, I'm going to march to the beat of a different drum. It takes courage. E.E. Cummings said, it takes courage to grow up and become who you really are. In 2008, I was faced with that decision on whether I was going to go with the flow or if I was going to have courage. Because see, you read my bio, but what my bio doesn't tell you was that while a minister in Tallahassee, and there's an individual in this room who was in Tallahassee the same time I was there, she was going to the same church. And she would have never known this had she not heard it tonight. When the alarm clock would go off on Wednesday morning, when the alarm clock would go off on Sunday morning, I would lay in my bed, look at the ceiling, and cry. Why? Because I hated Wednesday and Sunday. Why? Because it was time to go to church. I hated it. And some of you may say, oh no, the Lord gonna strike them down with some lightning and fear us tonight. But I'm sharing something with you. Because many times we have to make difficult decisions, and on the front end, we can't see past that decision. It's going to be scary. I was terrified. There would be nights I would sit in my one-bedroom apartment on White Drive off West Tennessee in pitch darkness contemplating suicide. Because my mind was causing me to make it seem like if I resign, if I go back to Jacksonville, if I pursue after this passion that I have for radio, I'm going to be a failure. Or causing me to seem like, because I couldn't see past that decision, some kind of supernatural turn of events was going to happen to take me out of this world prematurely. But I got to the place where I said, you know what, God, I refuse to stay here and give you less than anything than 100%. There is only one thing that I know that I can give you 100% in, and that's radio. I have to resign because my character and integrity will not allow me to stay here and stand before this group of people or stand before this group of teenagers and share some things with them that in my heart I don't honestly believe. I have to go back. And it's been 5 years. It's been 5 years before I was able to get back into radio. And that pursuit, it has been hellacious. I came back to Jacksonville. I was doing sales for a sports station. I suck at sales for sports stations. That's not what I'm good at. And so I was laid off. But because of what's in my DNA as a man, I have to work. So now I'm 30 years old, working at a call center in town, barely making enough money to pay my bills, living with my parents. Living with my parents. But I'm investing blood, sweat, tears, pain, stress, frustration, and sacrifices because there were no opportunities for radio. But I believed something. I saw something. And I wasn't willing to give it up. And wouldn't you know it, I meet this fine lady who, when I told her I was living with my parents, she didn't allow that to shake her because she said she saw something on the inside of me that she had never seen in any other man before. I told her, I don't have a lot of money. I live with my mama. But she saw past that. So going from this call center, barely making enough money, to going and working at a college and working at missions, still miserable. But on the inside, I'm still focused. I would be up 2, 3 o'clock at night working on business plans, coming up with different ideas. And I would sometimes just sit there and imagine myself working back in a radio station. And it reminded me of the song Kanye West did a couple years ago called The Good Life. This one line says, I always had a passion for flashing. Before I had it, I closed my eyes and imagined the good life. Do not underestimate the power of your mind. Don't underestimate it. Because as you begin in this pursuit, sometimes your mind is going to be the only thing that's going to keep you anchored. So with everything that you've learned, with everything that you've had an opportunity to experience throughout this process, I challenge you. I encourage you. I implore you. Have enough courage to step out and apply those things to what you're truly passionate about. Because in closing, I'm of the belief that we all have a duty to be contributors to mankind and to the human race. That's our duty. That's our responsibility. If we're not part of the solution, we're part of the problem. Well, one of the reasons why I believe some people are contributing more to the problem than they are the solution is because they're not pursuing their passion. Many people don't know what their passion is. And the thing about your passion, it's not for you. It doesn't benefit you. It benefits other people. When you're in your passion, there's a certain benevolence that comes along with it. There's a sense of gratification that comes along with it. And so you'll find yourself enjoying doing what you do simply because I feel like this is the only time I can really be who I am, really express what's on the inside of me to express. And unbeknownst to you, that very thing that you're enjoying expressing and doing so well and so much, there's somebody on the other end who's receiving that saying, wow, I love this particular thing that this person does, because without it, I don't know what I would do. I don't know where I would be. If it wasn't there, I would have never received the inspiration to go and do what I'm doing now. We are all connected to one another, whether directly or indirectly. Us pursuing our passion is vital, because there's someone else in this world who's counting on us to do as E.E. Cummings said, to grow up and have the courage to be who we really are. So I want to challenge you. Grow up. Have the courage. Become who you really are. Just because you're in college, pursuing a degree, or have already graduated college, and you have a degree, and you're miserable or unhappy doing what you're doing, does not mean it's too late for you to turn around. The last example that I give, anybody ever heard of a guy by the name of Les Brown? Okay. Has anyone ever heard of the accountant named Les Brown? No, I don't know that Les Brown. Story about Les Brown. He was an athlete in high school, an athlete in college, majoring in accounting, took on an internship down in South Florida, did so well, the firm said, hey, look, you're a phenomenal accountant, why don't you come work with us? He said, all right, great. They paid him some money. He dropped out of college. He's working at this accounting firm for a couple of years, but he's miserable because he's still passionate about being on the gridiron, playing football. So Les, who was, I want to say 185 pounds at the time, went back to Oklahoma. His brother was playing football up that way, and he said, Les, man, look, thanks for coming up to support me. I really appreciate it, but you, how are you doing? I know that this is something you've always dreamed about. It's something that you love doing. Are you going to get back into football? And Les said, well, you know, man, I dropped out of college. You know, I don't have any other opportunities in front of me, so I'm going to keep doing this accounting thing. He said, well, I want to get you connected with this guy. He got connected with this personal trainer out in Hawaii. And I want to say it was like a 10-week training program that he went through. Les went from being 185 pounds to 230 pounds of solid muscle. Les, I believe, is 6'3" or 6'4". And he then went back to Oklahoma because there was going to be an NFL training camp. He said, you know what, I'm going to go. Les went, and he outperformed every athlete on the field. 2 weeks ago, the Miami Dolphins signed Les Brown. Les would not have been signed by the Miami Dolphins if he didn't have the courage. Despite his age, despite what he didn't have, despite what it looked like to other people, he did not allow those things to deter him from having the courage to pursue his